Hey, hey, welcome to another episode. I am Dagny.
I'm Damali.
And in this episode, we want to continue a bit of a discussion we've been having on a few previous episodes, but this time zoning in even more. And this is about the concept of your perspective and your focus when it comes to alignment. In particular, how do you the main overall question, okay? How do you react or respond or behave when you don't get what you want? Or you are thinking that the universe, God, the planets, what you believe in, the higher power that you believe in, does not give you what you claim you want. And how has that evolved over time? Or how you're behaving when it comes to these things? Is that working in your favor or possibly hindering your progress? So, in this episode, we wanted to reflect on our own experiences when it comes to how our behavior or our perspective on this has evolved and what we feel could be possibly support for you listening when it comes to dealing with stuff like this. So that's what we're getting into. So to start, first, let's start with this bigger question, and then we'll narrow the scope and connect the dots as we continue. So I'm going to ask you first, Damali, and when it comes to getting what you want, how would you say now? We're going to start with now and then compare it to if it's changed over time. Yeah. So for now, currently, how would you say you normally behave or react when you don't get what you want?
Well, yeah, thank you so much, Dagny, for throwing it to me. Yeah, I would like to say that I behave. I would like to say that I'm like amazing. I'm like super zen. Like, hey, it's just part of the process. But I think I'm still learning, kind of thing. I do get a bit like frustrated. I think that's also why that's kind of influenced I guess sometimes my anticipation or excitement of things. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe don't get too excited because if it doesn't work, oh no, kind of thing. And trying to like lessen the or making the knife blunt, the knife of not getting what you want as a metaphor and making it more blunt. So like if it doesn't work, I can just be like, oh, I didn't care anyway, kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely I mean, I don't think I'm as like volatile, I guess, as I was before, because I would get so like like I'll be like, I don't understand why this doesn't work. I did everything I was supposed to do. What the heck? Even though it's not only when things don't work out, it's not only about you. Like there's so many moving parts of why certain things don't work out. Um, but yeah, I like things still bother me. I think I still have work to do of figuring out how I navigate that because I still get really like disappointed and there's a tendency to be like, what could I have done? Or I must have done something wrong, or I must have made a mistake, or if it didn't work, I should have, could have, would have done something else instead. It's like a quiet, much quieter. But I did think that for this podcast episode, I think it was important to think of that because what do you do? Like, do you are you able to pivot, or you just like lose all motivation? You don't do anything. You're just like spoiled brat and everything, and you're like, oh, why me, kind of thing. Yeah. So I still figuring out the balance, I guess, of how should you? Maybe the better way is like, how should you react when you don't get what you want? Like, is there a better way or the best way to react? And why are like I don't know. Do they teach us this in school? Was this like was this a thing? Did they tell us that we're like, this is when you don't get what you want, this is what you do? Like, I don't know if that was ever, which I think because everyone's still figuring it out. Is that why we didn't talk? I don't remember. But um yeah, so for me, it's like a quiet kind of like, oh, what did I do? I must have made a mistake. How can I make this less annoying next time? How can I not care about stuff so much so that if it doesn't work out, it doesn't affect me as much. I think that would be some part of how I react now, I
Now,
suppose.
and then
Yeah.
is that very different from before? How does that compare to before?
Yeah, I think it's different because I would like when I was younger, I think I would like fall on the floor and just like cry and stuff. when I was a child, I would be so annoyed when I don't get what I want because I'm just like, why can't I? Like, I'm doing what I have to do. Why not? I think, yeah, if I trained and wanted to do something and I didn't win or something, yeah, I would get a bit more like throwing maybe not a tantrum, but like crying or freaking out about it or not understanding why I didn't get it or because I used to be, which I guess is good sometimes, but I used to be like, when I would work really hard on something, I'd be like, okay, I can do it. There's a chance I'll get, like, I really believe in myself that I can, but of course you get older and you realize the world is a scam. Just kidding. Well, not entirely. And so now I'm just like, oh, how surprising I didn't get it. Well, that's what happens, right? Like, oh well, I think I'm a bit more I guess I am a bit more negative, I suppose, which is not, I guess it's not entirely good now. Sometimes I try not to anticipate things or care about them. Like I'll do something, but like be like, I don't care. And then maybe like, so if I get it, awesome. And then if I don't, and it makes me think, it's kind of an old novel. I think it was Anne of Green Gables. I don't know if people know that, it's a series, but I think there is something I remember from the books. I read most of them in the series. And I think the main one, I think Anne was the one who was very much like very excited for stuff and just like ready for all this stuff. And then I think that her aunt, I forgot the name of her aunt, but I think her aunt says something about like she doesn't expect things or something, like, because if you don't expect things, then when they don't work, you won't be disappointed or something like that. And I remember reading that and I'm like, maybe I should do that, like not expect anything at all and not, but I think I go too much in that direction where I really am like, I don't care and I'm done with this. And like, I'm trying not to, like, just trying to do stuff that won't touch my heart or my emotions at all. And just like, you know what I mean? So just be empty inside, I think so nothing really bothers me. Um, and then, or when I do stuff, don't do it and like not think about it. And then sometimes I have been pleasantly surprised. I'm like, oh, I got the thing, cool. And then of course, sometimes there's an issue where I do get the thing that I wanted, but then it doesn't work out, or it's not what I think, or not what I want. And then some people around me don't like understand sometimes. They're like, we don't get it. You got what you want. So what's the big deal? Or like, or if you got something without putting that like too much work in it, but like it doesn't work out the way you thought. So I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm disappointed even though I have what I want. So it's just, yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm still at. Clearly I'm still figuring that out from the sound of it. So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyway, Dagny, go ahead. What do you think? How is your way of reacting to things not working out?
Yeah. I think
you?
it has changed over time. I think I'm still growing in that too. Now, I think I'm more accepting and slightly more trusting when things go differently. Because I'm somebody who will plan 500 years in advance. So when things go awry from the plan, right, for someone like that, it's kind of a big deal, right? Because the plan was created to cover everything. And when things go awry, it makes it like, but all the effort was already done for that to not happen. While before, things going differently, I would beat up on myself, maybe due to this deal of being so big on planning and covering everything. So if to me, I would take it as I must have not planned well enough, or I didn't do something well enough, or I'm not enough. That must be why this went a different way, or this is like a punishment for me not doing what I was supposed to show up as or do. And so I would take it as it's a failure or like a really devastating disappointment, which, yes, others would take it as I'm being too sensitive or I'm blowing it out of proportion or it's not that big of a deal. But I think it's due to the fact that they really were not planners like me, I guess, or not the value of it. They couldn't see that I do value this, as opposed to it's like, oh, it didn't work out, whatever, you just move on kind of deal. But I wasn't light like that, I guess. I don't know. But now it's like I still plan 5,000 years in advance, But I am more accepting of the plan being fluid, because I've learned that things going differently is actually the way it was supposed to be. What we want can be part of like a skeleton of a blueprint, but it's not really the full thing. And I've had to learn that of things that and then noting that the things that you want, having to question, is that really what you wanted? Or this is something you've been conditioned to believe you need, or conditioned to believe you should have? Or is this want really for other people to see it, or for other people to validate it? Those sorts of things. And I have felt, for me, part of the reason why certain things went differently than planned, I think, was to enable me to recognize what wants really were for me and which wants were conditioning or just wanting to appeal to or appease others or society at large, or a figment of thinking it was me when it was not. And that is, to me, I feel, is a good thing. So now, looking in hindsight, any of the things that I was actually very devastated about when they didn't work out were actually a good thing, were actually a blessing, because my life trajectory would have been different than what it is now if those things had gone on the so-called plan that it was supposed to be. And I possibly might not be, I don't know if it either would have taken longer for me to get to the version of myself that I am now, or I may never have touched this part of Dagny. I possibly would be a completely different one who still would be great planning and perceived as successful with the planning, but possibly may not be happy, or may not be healthy, or may constantly be stumbling on something because I'm not really where I'm supposed to be internally and externally. And also, one thing to add to that is that I also feel that every redirection or pivot got me closer, or enabled me or inspired me to become even closer to spirituality or divine inspiration or prayer. Because I felt that for somebody who plans a lot, sometimes, even though we're not trying to be blasphemous, but sometimes it's like you think your plan is the only plan, or you think, well, since I got all these details set, that's all I'm supposed to be focused on, or that's all that's supposed to happen. So sometimes when the thing gets shifted out or removed from under your feet, in my experience, I felt that was a reminder of like, nah, fam, the reason why you're gifted with all this planning is not for you to box yourself into just this plan. The reason why you have this gift is that you're supposed to collaborate with the bigger plan and make it, and really deliver it. That's why you have this gift of being awesome with organizing and planning. While I found that before certain things had to pivot, my planning actually possibly was quite restrictive, like possibly just staying in like my little corner of a bubble, thinking that, oh, just to do this title or just to do this and that, like kind of living small almost, because the plan is just focused on what's in front of your nose. And I get it. Being able to pay your bills is not something to play around with, right? Or being able to have the criteria or the expertise to do stuff is not something to play around with. But we can get lulled from the day to day to believe that that's actually it. That's the only reason why we're just floating on paying bills and that's it. Or just floating on appeasing people's validations and that's it. And I felt, in my experience, the pivots and the disappointments that occurred was trying to redirect me to understand that now my gifts are not supposed to be small like that. It's supposed to be collaborating on something bigger. And we can talk more about then when you accept that. When you accept that or get to that, what happens? Is it like how do you maintain that and stuff? But for this first part, that's what I would say in terms of how I've gone where I am now and how it was before in terms of dealing with not getting what I want or feeling like things are going off, detour, diverting from the plan.
Yeah, I like that. I like what you said about the blasphemous part. That's a good point, because it makes me think of this like meme or video I saw on Instagram where I think it was a human, an angel, and God, right? And like every time the human would want to do something, God would like take it away or or make the human move. And the angel kept on looking at God like, why do you keep moving that from the human? What? God, I don't understand. He kept on doing that. And God was just like, wait. And the angel's like, okay. And then so 3-4 different times the human keeps on like not getting what they want, but the human keeps going. And then eventually the human does some other awesome thing or I don't know what the human ends up doing. And the angel's like, oh, and he looks at God and God's like, yeah, kind of thing. So the way to explain is that like God was trying to get the human to do what they were destined to do. And so it kept on removing other things, or making things hard or doing like it's as if God or whatever you pray to, or universe was trying to push the human into the right direction. And sometimes when you have to do that, you have to make the human go through like painful stuff. And so I think sometimes the universe, like these are some of this I've had like, I guess I knew about more recently about this idea that the universe is like trying it like sometimes I think I read it somewhere, was like the universe is trying to see what you do. Like sometimes they put you in certain situations on purpose to be like, how are you going to get out of this? And like, or it's like a test of like, can you handle this before you get there, kind of thing. And so it made me think about that, where it's true, because like why do we think we're the only, like we know we don't have 100% control on everything that happens in our lives, but for some reason we think that, oh, if I plan this perfectly to a T, if I want the sunshine to come out, there will be no rain. Like, it's like, no, brah, like it's not about just you, and I think also we need to like, you can't like expect things just to work out like all the time, and then even when things go wrong, like I think it could be kind of like, I don't know if it's like arrogance, like we think that I'm the reason why everything went wrong. Like, how can you be the whole reason? Like, what does it have to like let's say you don't get a job or something. Like, how do you know it's because of you? Like, did they tell you, bro? I mean, sometimes they do, but like
Right.
sometimes they reach their quota, or someone was sick that day, or they didn't feel like, or the person checking your thing doesn't give a damn. Like, I remember hearing this thing because I'd be going on my Reddit, well, I guess holes, my Reddit holes. And there was one of the Reddit people was a recruiter, like one of those recruiters that, if you need help looking for a job, they help you. And he was explaining the process, and he was saying, sometimes we don't even like really look at your resume, guys. Like it's like 7 seconds. You have to get through like a certain amount, like 100 different people that day. And if you have the 5 people you need to fill in your quota, you don't look at the others. Like, it's like, so like, it's not personal. Like, if we don't look at your resume, don't look at your thing, it's not because you did something. Some of that has nothing to do with you, right? And then also, if it does have something to do with you, well, then you just learn from that and figure it out for next time, or get ready for the next race. Like, that's how that works, kind of thing. So yeah, I think we don't know, and I think that's the issue, right? Because like, I mean, if I knew that, it would be fine. Like, I don't know why God or the universe can't be like, the reason I put you through all that crap was because this is coming. Oh, But then if he tells you what's gonna happen, they're like, oh, God, let's not do anything. I just want to like sit around. You're gonna get to me anyway, right? I don't know. But I do think that it's important, and I do think, yeah, we forget about like the higher purpose. It's true, because if you're planning and going through all this stuff, are you thinking about God? Are you thinking about the universe? Are you thinking about because I don't know if when we're planning or doing anything in life, are we, I mean, obviously we have issues of not focusing on our health, right? Because there's a lot of people with physical health, they work so hard, they fall down. Or we have this issue with mental health and all that stuff. So clearly we're doing a lot of things in life where we're not paying attention to our physical health, not paying attention to our mental health, not paying attention to our universe, religious, anything that can keep us healthy and like make sure we're okay. We're not, we kind of just keep going. Like, we're like, oh, we'll just go like zombies because that's it. And I'm like, but we know that's not the only point of life, right? Like, it's not that, there's a lot more to it. And I don't know if it's just the universe's way of being like, hey, hello, like there's something else you're supposed to be looking at. You're missing the plot, like it makes me think like if you're reading a book, everyone's been through this, where you read a book and it starts off really, really awesome. I think there was one book I read recently where like it started off really awesome, And then by the end, it was just like, crap. I'm like, what happened to the plot? Where's the rest of the story? Kind of thing. And I think in life we do that too, where like we just kind of like veer off and do stuff, and we're like, why is it not working? And I'm like, you're trying to push uh, a rock that you can't carry up a mountain. Like it's too heavy and you can't carry it, but you're still trying to like try picking up a car right now. I want you to try picking up a car and see how long it takes. Unless you're like a muscle man, but like try picking up a car with your pinky and tell me what you do. What happens? It's like that. But you keep on doing like, why can't I pick up this car with my pinky? Like, okay, that's So yeah, I would say that it's important to be aware of that. And then I guess I can go into I don't know, go into some of my horoscope stuff. Well, recently I've been looking at some of my horoscope stuff, and some information I already know, some I didn't, I don't know. But basically, like one of the lines is like I guess like the way I've been living my life, or the way I've been doing stuff for a while, like it could hurt me, kind of thing. And like the different perspectives I've had on like I guess like viewing mistakes or failures or things like that probably need to change, because it's not really serving me. And I feel like not only for me, I feel like for most people that's also why sometimes the universe keeps on testing us and keeps on giving us like obstacles to go through until we get it. It's like, why does this mistake keep on happening? Why do I keep on not getting? Why is this not working? And I don't know, that's also a way to make you pause to think about it and recalibrate for what you have to do. So Dagny, if you want to add something before I go on to, I don't know, failures versus success.
No, we can segue into that. I think this is a good time to do that.
Yeah, it's a good segue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all right, so this kind of came to my mind because there's this dusty old book that I found that was just lying around. And this is why I know it's the universe, because I was not trying to look for. I was looking for some other book, and then this book like fell, and I was like, oh, what's this? And it's like a 30-year-old book by like Barbara something. And what really like struck me in it, I think the book is something. It was I could do anything if I only knew what it was, by Barbara Sure. The main part in the book that I thought really stuck out to me was this part. I'm gonna read a bit of it. And here she says, don't think the reason you haven't tried is because you fear failure. As far as I'm concerned, people who think they fear failure have got it wrong. They actually fear success, because if you really feared failure, you would be very successful. People who truly fear anything stay as far away from it as possible. So if you're operating below your potential and you think the reason you don't try for what you really want is that you're scared of failure, forget it. In your eyes, you're already a failure right now, so how are you afraid of it? But what if you feel you're not afraid of failure itself? You're afraid of failing at something specific. So that part, I was like, mind blown, because I'm always like, no, I don't want. People are like, oh, I'm afraid of. It's like, wait, if it's true, if you're always failing all the time, then you're not afraid of it. Because then why do you keep on doing the same thing? If I'm terrified to fail, I would succeed all the time. Like I would be succeeding like all the time, all the time, all the kind of thing. And so that I can get, because if I'm afraid of failure, I would be far away from it, right? And I was like, oh, and I never like thought, because normally we think, oh, either you're afraid of success or afraid, kind of thing. And it's like, oh, I'm actually not. I must not be afraid of failure if I keep on like, and also if you're already failing, then like how much worse can it get? You're already at the bottom anyway. So like, what are you worried about then? You know what I mean? Like like you're already in the dirt. Like I'm gonna get dirty. You're in the dirt. Like I don't understand. You don't know, And so that kind of, because I've always had this thing of figuring out how a better way to view mistakes or better way to view failures, because I think if I can change my perspective on it, then things can be better. And like it, because I always try to think like it's not about the thing that you're doing, it's about how you feel, and like keep on going regardless, so it doesn't like bring you down. Um and also I think that people say you can learn. I think you can learn from both failures and success. I think anything you do, you can learn something from it, because you're going to use some of the knowledge to do something different the next time around. But I just thought that was an interesting take, because I'm like, I've never really thought about it, and maybe I have, but like not in that way where it's like, oh, because it's true. And also, if you really if you're really into failing, you can fail anytime you want to. Like, if you succeed at something, you can always get out of it. Like, you can always be like, oh, I'm kind of tired of succeeding. I'm gonna go fail again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can sabotage. I mean, we know we sabotage ourselves all the time, right? Self-sabotage. So if you want to do that, okay, probably shouldn't do it. 10-10, maybe not the best thing to do. But I just thought that's the first note I'll make on that, where it's like, oh, maybe if I'm failing, I'm not afraid of it, actually. Like, but then of course that has the other question then. Okay, then like it's like, are you afraid of a specific thing, or is it the success is actually the problem? Like, success is actually the thing that you fear, but you don't want to say that because that sounds dumb. So you disguise as you're actually afraid of failure, but like, oh, you don't want to succeed, which is like, wait, why wouldn't you? But anyway, I think that's where I'll start. What about
And
you, Dagny?
I think that
Piggyback off
also to
piggyback
off of this, when it comes to this
Yes.
notion of fear of success, I think it's interesting because success has become a mystery. That's why there's
Yes.
such a huge industry that you should pay me to teach you how to be successful, or to be successful, or to become the success of your life, kind of thing. As if success is some faraway, mysterious code that nobody could ever crack by themselves or figure out by themselves, right? And I think that aligns or connects to some of our previous episodes when we really need to pay attention to how do we define success. Because I think a lot of rhetoric, which kind of goes into like the whole self-help stuff, makes you insist that you should visualize what you want and where you want to be. But they actually are pushing you to be more into wishful thinking. I just want to be by the beach whenever I want to be. But the steps to put in place so that you could be by the beach, not as if you don't have a home and that's all where you can be, but you be by the beach because actually you're comfortable. Correct. Wishful thinking is just, I just want to be by the beach and that's it. Right. But the proper visualization of understanding success is that you can actually understand all the other elements that are needed, in particular, who you need to be for those elements to coexist for you, and what type of higher calling connections that need to maintain that, and what level of work, not necessarily you should be bleeding, but what level of like working smarter evolves, needs that. And I feel that the one side of success of it's a mystery of not understanding what it takes to have that perceived cushion that we look to other people saying, oh, they must be successful because they have the privilege to not have to be living paycheck to paycheck, or the privilege of living in a better neighborhood, or having a higher education, or just having money like that. Yes. While the other side of a fear of success is similar to what we spoke about in another episode when it comes to power. Because being successful automatically, it means you must have more authority or more power. And noting the examples that we have seen in the most recent couple of centuries, having power is not deemed to be a positive, wholesome thing. It seems like the most powerful always need to be in some kind of cult, or needed to be doing some kind of behavior that years later it gets exposed. And we're all like, are you kidding me? You have all this money and this is what you're spending your time doing? Why would we need to be doing that? So I feel that it's possible. It might be a combination of the two, where it's not just, oh, you're afraid of being successful because we would rather be lazy. It's not that. I think one is that the idea of success has become such a far away, convoluted, complicated thing that it really doesn't have to be. And then the other side of it, of if success is power, does that mean you need to be associated with this version of power, which is possibly part of the reason why all the destruction in this world continues to be happening? Can you maintain that? Can you balance that? The types of people you have to associate with, the types of behavior or things you need to just turn a blind eye to because you're in those circles. If that what success means, is that what we want? Not really. So when you take it down to be like, well, actually, if you really think about it, for us and you listening, when you think about what would be success, remove this idea that is something so far away and completely out of reach for you, as well as remove that it must mean you need to be going to some weird parties or associate with weird people. What if success could just be you and your family or whoever you really care about are good? Like they're happy, they're healthy, whatever they would need is already there. Like the abundance is just there for them in any element of their life. And it stays and it's wholesome and it's rooted in something wholesome. So it's not something you have to be cheating or being conniving with. It's just, You're just protected in that. If that is what we are claiming, that's the success we're all moving towards, then why would we fear this? Why would we feel it's so out of reach? Because when you look at it in that way, it's like, okay, well, part of it sure is, okay, try to figure out how you're going to have wealth. But that wealth is not just the money part. It's also, okay, how are you maintaining the interactions between you and your people that you want to be happy? How are you maintaining the health for you and the people around you? How are you all these other elements become more important than being Mr. Scrooge or Dr. Scrooge. I forget if Scrooge was a doctor or not. I forget. But being it's all just about these coins and keeping these coins to myself and then being greedy about the coins, that is a problem. And I don't say that to mean you should just forget about how you're going to pay your bills or forget about how we're going to pay a hospital fee or I get it. The money part has to be there, but it's possible that if our definition of success was not this far away image that kind of puts money on a pedestal, but instead is something that is actually within us. And money is now more of a tool that could further amplify it or further secure it. Maybe this fear that we have towards success could be eliminated. Maybe this paralyzing, because for some people, it can be quite paralyzing to not want to even venture towards something because they don't want to be disappointed by maybe the success is not what they really wanted. Like you noted you get what you thought you want, but it has a bitter aftertaste or it's stale or it actually it looks shiny initially and now you're right at it. And it's that the shine actually was just because the sun was in a particular place. And now you see it's actually rusty, but far away, it didn't look rusty. I feel like the ideas that we've been conditioned to believe what success is supposed to look like is rusty. It's not really giving what we needed to give, unfortunately. And I think that is by design to further feed into this fear so that you would prefer to seek out somebody else paying somebody else to tell you what you should or should not be doing, or what you should or should not be afraid of, or pay somebody else to give you some 5-step plan to do something when really the answer is already within you. But you've been conditioned to think that what you feel or what you think is unrealistic, or it could never be, or that's too far away, or doesn't fit what everybody claims success is. And so that's why we have to be, which will continue in this conversation, but noting that I think that fear connects with how we behave when we don't get what we want too, because then fear is as big or as small as you make it to be. I don't think fear is something that needs to be completely annihilated. Like you're just going to live without it there at all, because fear could possibly just be your conscious letting you know hey, remember there's water on the floor. Don't slip. Yes. But if you feed it what we've been conditioned, fear becomes this weird shadow boogeyman that's always on your shoulder. You can't do that, right? The meme with Kermit the Frog, where one time, one of him is normal and one of them has some a hood on. And he's like, they don't like you. They don't want this about you. You can't do that. This kind of stuff where fear possibly doesn't even want to be telling you these things, but you have pushed that, shoved that down its throat. While fear actually could work better as just to let you know, we probably shouldn't be in this room right now because something's about to go down. So let's go. let's go. I'm going to give you the tingly sensation. Get out now, please. And then you leave and find out, like, I don't know, a UFO was going to be landing on that building. And now you didn't have to be abducted because your fear got you out. So I feel like we end up burdening our fear with these conditionings, and our fear can't really tell us that that's what's happening. It's just responding to what you're giving it, of like, okay, this is what you want us to focus on. Then I'm just going to continue telling you that, yeah, you definitely shouldn't be touching success. Like, dang, we don't even know who that is. Like that's unfortunate. But if we could take the time and make the effort to redefine that for ourselves, fear could be working in our favor. As in, fear is more of our instincts to try and keep us safe. If we feed it with these illusions and delusions, it continues to try to keep you safe. So if you feed it claiming success is some big, scary something that I don't know what it is, it would be like, great, okay, so then let's stay as far away from it as possible and continue being confused about why we're so far away from it. But fear is like, I'm not fighting you. You said this is what you don't like, so I'm keeping you away from it. If you wanted it, then stop telling me that. Similar to how, like, you have a friend and you keep on telling that friend that you've had it up to here with this other person, da 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 da. And that friend's like, bet, okay, I'm ready to cut them when we're ready. Let's go. Like, let's go. And then you technically actually feel like, well, maybe I overreacted. Maybe this person's fine. But your friend is like, nah, I got the shovel. Let's go. Let's go. Like, I got all the data. Let's go. Like, because you already told them that you have an issue with the other person. So I would like to think that that is how fear operates within us. It can be very easily influenced, unfortunately, but its intention is always the same of, I'm just here to keep you safe. But you need to collaborate with me on that. I can't tell you that what you're feeding me is a problem, or be like, hey, yo, this is not actually what you're supposed to be doing. That's what I would say on that.
Yeah, I think the fear is a stimuli thing. It's like the fear is like, there might be one firework going off today, and then you're like, wait, what? The whole place is going to explode? My house is going to explode? And fear is like, no, that's just one firework. No, you said the house. You know what I mean? Like, we make it like some huge thing, and fear is just vibing. Like, I just had one job. Why are you giving me 10? Like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think it's like, you know, as cliche as it sounds, respect the process. I think I mean, to surrender to the process, surrender to God, power, universe, whatever you pray to, and realize it's not just about you, because I think that makes it a little bit easier and more, or to be more focused. Like, just do what you have to do and just pivot when you have to and deal with it as it comes. You don't have to like, why did this happen to me? And what's the reason? Why am I so? No, it's not for you to like take like years to be like, why can't I just move? Just, it didn't work. Okay, boom, bet, move, you know? And I think we forget that, like, we're in control more than we are. I mean, we're not in control of everything, but I think we think we're a passenger. Like, it's like, imagine, I mean, obviously the metaphor is obvious. Like, if let's say we're supposed to be driving somewhere, and your friend is in the passenger seat, but you think you're the passenger, but you're a driver, and you're just waiting there. And your friend is like, why haven't we moved yet? You're like, what? Aren't you driving? No, I'm the passenger. Dude, the wheel is in your hand. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's like you're the driver, right? And it makes me think, I don't know if anybody knows Joel Osteen, but I used to listen to some of his talks and stuff, stuff, and like, he's always like, are you a victor or a victim? That's like his tagline from Houston, right? His
like
church
a Joel
thing,
Osteen
like,
line.
you know, like, and
Yes.
he's like, you know, and it made me think, like, if you can see your life more objectively, then you can be more, can you be more of a victor? Be like, I am doing this because of this. This didn't work for this, as opposed to being like, well, it's because, and I don't know why. No, it's like, it didn't work because it wasn't for you. Okay, move. That person didn't like you. Okay, move. This didn't work. Move. Like, be able to kind of just, you know, because imagine if you had more information, or a genie came to tell you this is the reason why you did this and this, then would you see your mistakes and things that didn't work out differently? And remember, we're not let me not say impotent. We're not omnipotent. Like, you're not everywhere. So, like, you don't have all the information anyway. So it's like, you're not, you know, it's like being like an ant and thinking that you know what's going on in a house. Like, how would you know? You're an ant. You can't see everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, or you're an ant and you see a human, you think the human is like a monster. and like we're not monsters, but you think that because it's what you see. Or like we don't have, I don't know, when things don't work, I don't know, it's like this thing where we think that we know all of the reasons why it didn't work, or there must have been something. How do you know? You don't know everything. We act like we do, but it's like a weird, and it's funny because about the failure and success thing, because we love success stories. There's so many movies and shows and people like, oh well, and like I think it's sad because it's like success is only like, we only congratulate you if you make it. Like if you fail a lot and all these horrible things happen to you, but if you succeed at the end, you became, I used to not have shoes. I didn't have feet. I didn't have fingers, and then now I'm the CEO. Like, and you're like, whoa, But if that same person went through all of that and they didn't succeed, I don't know how many times that story is told, right? Because like there's nothing wrong. It's not like, I remember there's some, because I'm all into my anime, but in the anime there is like this anime I watch where the guy, there's some prince or something, and he's forced to be like hidden away. Like they put him in a room somewhere and he can't go outside or whatever, and he doesn't want to go outside. He's like, I don't want to go outside. I've been here this whole time. I don't want to do anything. And someone wants him to get out because she needs his help, and he's afraid of failing. And she's like, there's nothing, and she starts crying. She's like, there's nothing wrong with failing. Like if you fail, it means you did something. Like you did, like you put the work in, then you failed. That's okay. Like what's the problem is not doing anything. Like just say don't succeed or fail. That is where the issue is. It's okay if you fail. Like I don't like that. That's fine. And I think it's important for us to balance. Like it's okay to fail or succeed. It's like it's a journey. It's a process. It's not just it's not one and done. Like there are other things you can do with your life. It's not the end of the world, and you can still keep on going. And I don't think that, I think we miss, I mean, we don't know what the point of life is, unfortunately, not fully, right? Well, maybe some people, I don't know, but they haven't shared it. But it's like, we don't know, maybe the point of life, it is that it's just to keep going, and like you're supposed to go have windows to go through and have walls to hit to make you move elsewhere. Like it's like Pac-Man, right? Sometimes you're not supposed to go in a place because there's a ghost over there, right? And you have to go. Not sorry, not a ghost. Not well. Hold on. Not no. The ghost is fine. It's Pac-Man eating the ghost, right?
Right.
Sometimes you don't go. The ghost shouldn't go in a direction because Pac-Man's gonna eat your ass. Like you know what I mean? Like excuse my French, but yeah, and I think that is a big deal. And I think but like for me, I guess if for me like personally, I I have I'm trying to be better at like looking at my mistakes a different way, because with things like somebody listened to my horoscope and stuff, and like I already knew this, but like I have this way of like there's certain mistakes where I cannot let them go. Like I'm just like, this was such a mistake and I cannot, like I'm just like, if only I would have done this, if only I could do this would work out. And I really like, and it gets to the point where it's like sometimes it can be like debilitating, because then I'm like, I don't know, I don't want this mistake to happen again, so I need to like avoid it, kind of thing. But I don't think, but the focus is all like, it's like, I think it's just okay, you made a mistake, it sucked. Okay. All right. Well, let's do something else next time, and then you have knowledge now, so you'll do something different, right? And I do think there is this with success people. It's a weird thing, because like we dream big, we want all these things, but then sometimes you like live small because it's like scary, right? And it's like annoying, and like if you did a bunch of stuff, it didn't really work, then you're kind of like, oh my God, this is so exhausting, I think it's like I think it was like in Alice in Wonderland, where there's this scene where she's stuck in the house and she can't move. Like she gets too big for the house, but she can't leave the house, which is like horrible. So it's like you can't fail, you can't succeed. What do? You're just like stuck, and so I think that yeah, back to the victim and victor, it's kind of like we like we're not the only, it's like writing a book, but we're not the only one writing it, but we have to do something in the book. You're like the co-writer, right? Like there's a co-writer or co-narrator kind of thing. And I think if we trusted ourselves more with the control in our story, I think we would feel less lost, because it's almost like I'm not in control of everything, but like there's a certain part that I'm in control control with. Let me deal with this. The other parts I'm not in control and I'm not writing, that's okay. We'll deal with that. Or I will, it's like you have to work with the universe in tandem kind of thing. You're like, you need to work with it. Like you can't not, everybody knows how those group projects are where you have to do everything and the other people don't do it. How do you feel? It sucks. I hate it. It's annoying. And that's what that is. You need to work together in a way that makes sense, or else you're always going to be hitting like these walls, I think. And I think that sometimes I think that the reasons why things don't work out, or we go through the fear or fight or flight or anxiety, is because it's just telling us, hey, maybe go the other way instead. It's just like, ding, oh, maybe, let me not do that. Let me go there. Let me open the door instead of opening the window. Like it's not meant to sit and be like, oh my gosh, wait, I opened the window by mistake. What do I do now? It's fine. Just close the window, backtrack, and do, and I know there's differences, because there's some mistakes where it's like, it's a bit like if you were the reason someone died, like, that obviously is a little bit different than the other mistake. And that's a different kind of thing you have to deal with. But that's also a thing you have to face too, right? It's like sitting in it. What does it do? Like just sitting in the mistake and being like, oh my God, this is horrible. What is that? It doesn't do anything. You're just sitting there. So what are you learning from, especially you already learned from the mistake. So why are you still sitting in it, But I know our minds it's hard. We don't have as much control. We just need to train our minds more. We train our bodies, but we need to train our minds more. And I feel like that's the main thing to deal with that. Mm-hmm. And then I was going to go into this self-help there. Well, maybe I'll let you, I'll throw it back to you, because I think that was the note that you made about the issue of self-help and rhetoric. Continue, please, go on.
So I think and I think this part would be a good part to like bring it all in. For this episode when it comes to this.
Yeah.
And so connecting with what we've been speaking about when it comes to how do you behave when you don't get what you want, and what does it actually mean when you're shifting from getting what you want or having to pivot. And a lot of times the response can come from anxiety or a feeling of loss or a feeling of failure. And if you recall, we had an episode before when it came to self-help and therapy.
Yes.
And we felt that this is something that we do have to take note of in this conversation, because when it comes to claiming we all want to be successful and are seeking other people to tell us how to do that, self-help and therapy rhetoric, again, we're not claiming all of it is trash. I'm not saying that. Okay, you can think for yourself. We are here to enable you to think for yourself. But we do want to caution or suggest that there is a portion of self-help and therapy rhetoric that claims it wants for you to have the most amazing life that you deserve and wants you to be successful. But unfortunately, the methodology or ideology it tries to catch you with is to get you to focus on just you. Like everything happened to you, and it's only you that's going to get you out of it, and kind of keeps you spiraling in your head and making it seem like you are completely alone and confused. You're the only person who's ever gone through this. You're the only person who can deal with it. You're all by yourself, but you can pay for that book, or you can pay for this class, or you can hire somebody to talk to you to continue enabling you thinking you're by yourself. And we wanted to reiterate that I feel part of the reason why there possibly is more being vocal about anxiety and loss and feeling completely alone is because we are more and more being conditioned to move far away from community. We are not being taught how to be a real community member to each other. And we're also possibly becoming a bit lackadaisical, if that's the word, when it comes to wholesome community, wholesome faith, wholesome spirituality, wholesome understanding that what's going on with you is not just about you. It never was just about you. All of us have this kind of like butterfly effect towards each other, which we actually spoke about in a previous episode, now that I'm remembering. that any decision that you made, any test that you had to pass, any pivot that actually happened, it's not just about you. That's a ripple effect that is hitting or influencing so many other people and so many other factors that go beyond even what you can recognize. And so it's actually quite harmful to continue subscribing to or endorsing this rhetoric that to deal with stuff that's not going your way, it's all about you. Because I think that causes a very toxic version of selfishness and confusion and even delusion to an extent, because it then makes it seem that the way you're going to fix it should also just be about you, regardless of the people that care about you, regardless of the people that need you, regardless of where you want to be, because where you want your success. And I think that maybe adds to, as we're wrapping this up, connecting the dots here, when we were speaking on that definition of success, it's possible that another fear behind it that we're conditioned to is that success is not all about you. It is connected to so many other people and factors and things that claiming that the way you're going to get to it is all by yourself is actually keeping you further away from it under the pretense that we're trying to train you and motivate you to get closer to it. Yes, it's true that some healing or some training should be done, discipline on your own to make sure you got that foundation. But even with that, you are not in a vacuum. None of us as humans, none of us are in a vacuum. And so I think and it's possible that the lack of support maybe that people feel from other humans is the reason why there's such a demand for this type of content, this type of subscriptions or masterclasses. We even need to be careful with how we're utilizing AI to fill a void sometimes. Because even though the AI can respond to you when you are feeling like this is not going the way I want to, what should I do? And yes, sure, AI, and I'm talking about all different versions. I don't want to put this on one particular software or one particular company. And this will be another conversation. We have another episode in terms of how AI is evolving and how humans are using it and possibly need to be more savvy about how they're using it. So I would like to note or reiterate or take note that when it comes to things that you think are not going to plan, that should not be the time you isolate yourself even more. That should not be the time that you try to create enemies or villains in your story to blame other people as to why something did not go right. The anxiety or the loss or the embarrassment or the disappointment that comes up, I still would like to feel that those are invitations for you to get realigned. Those are invitations for you to steer in a different direction. Those are invitations for you to go deeper with the answers that are within you and deeper in the alignment for the different higher power that you believe in that's trying to speak to you. Because possibly it's been trying, but you weren't listening. So now they have to do something to get your attention, which is possibly allow you, like I really liked that example, Damali, you gave of constantly moving the goalpost or constantly moving what you're trying to chase. Not because you don't need it, but because it's like, for you to get to where you need to be, that alignment needs to be there. And unfortunately, a lot of this self-help therapy rhetoric is possibly trying to remove you from that. Because I feel like when you're removed from that alignment, that leaves a void for more confusion and delusions. And then we go back to the internet to try and find the answer. I'm just looking for somebody else to tell me what to do. And that is a problem because it keeps you looping in the same fear of success that you claim you want to get out of. So when it comes to how we behave or respond when things do not go our way, for me personally, I feel that this is a muscle that will continue evolving as we continue learning, possibly learning sometimes in hindsight of this is a path I was supposed to be on all along. Like this is actually how the path was supposed to be, because we have learned so much or have grown so much, or parts of these paths are determine different character traits I've had to pick up, kind of thing. And I see that as a good thing if you can acknowledge it and and understand what you're supposed to be learning from it, as opposed to seeing it as a punishment to yourself or judgment to yourself, or an obstacle that you have accepted will just always be there, kind of thing. So when it comes to what we would love you as listeners to take away from this, if you haven't already, reflect on how do you behave or respond when things don't go the way you had planned, or you don't get what you claim you wanted. Has that evolved over time? And if the way and the way in which it's happening now, is it really working in your favor, or is it keeping you further away from what you want? And is it feeding into fear and delusions and more confusion? And hopefully with some of the stuff that we mentioned here in this episode, maybe there's something here that you can pick up to help you redirect that response for yourself in a way so that you actually can leverage the pivots that happen, or leverage the disappointments that happen, where you come to a point where the disappointment, it doesn't even feel like disappointment anymore, because you already understand why this had to happen the way it did, as opposed to feeling like you're being punished because things are going differently.
Yeah. I like that. No, yeah, it makes me think. I think there was a Trevor Noah video about that too, but similar, where he talked about the success thing, where we make it seem as if we're doing it up completely by yourself, when that's not really completely accurate. Some part of it is yourself, but normally, and I think if we feel like we're more, and I know it depends, right? There's some countries where they're more collectivism versus individualism, and I know America's more kind of, buy your bushes on your own, kind of thing. But I don't think anyone, like you said, is like in that kind of vacuum. And also, like, make no mistake, like, I think it's okay to like beat up on yourself for a time. Like, it's okay to like be like, I need to take a break, or to cry about, or like to revisit a mistake and like figure out what could I have done differently, or what, like, I think there's time to do that, and that's fine, but just don't stay there too long. I think that's the main thing, where if going through that mistake, going through that will help you later, then fine. If it helps you, okay. But if it has you looping and spiraling, and like no movement is happening, like you're running, I think it's also has been, I go, oh, my horoscopes have always said, I already know it, but sometimes it gives me other stuff of like, it's like you're swimming really, really hard in the river, but you're not going anywhere. So you're really exhausted. You're like, this is so tiring. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm like, you're not going anywhere though, but I'm exhausted, So I think that, and I think it is an uphill, or it is a battle, because you have to learn and remember, and like you have to train it, and like you can't just like expect, well, I know how to deal with mistakes now. Like you don't, life can, many different things can happen in life at many different times, and it's just like you don't, it's not linear like that. I think that's the main thing, where it's like we just need to learn to be more, not like, oh, you don't care about anything, but just be more fluid and be able to work with the universe, and figure out, like, and try, it's hard, but like try to see things subjectively and objectively, and like what happened. And the first thing to be asked is, what do I learn from this? What did not work? What can I do next time? And even if crazy stuff happens and mistakes happen later, I can sit down on myself and be like, okay, what can I do? What to do next? Let's figure this out. And it should be like a process. It should be like it shouldn't be so like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Which is funny, because like to add to the last point I would make is like, we're not perfect. We're not perfect, but yet we like to act like we are. Like, I'm like, if you're not perfect, then why do we have an issue when we make mistakes? You're imperfect. So what's the problem? Why are we pretend, like, we're always wearing a mask and pretending and putting a costume like we're perfect, but we're not. So it's like a weird kind of, I don't know. Life and humans we're a strange bunch, but I guess I wish everyone luck, and it would be cool, yeah, to hear your stories. How do you deal with mistakes? How have you grown and changed? How have you dealt with being aligned to God, or whatever you pray to, or the universe, or even if it's yourself that you deal with stuff, and how has that like shaped you? I think we'll continue to learn about that, and try not to, be buried by our mistakes and things that didn't work out, and try not to miss out on the present stuff, and unlike usual, try to focus more on the present. I think when you focus on the present, it's easier. Sometimes it's easier to see things a little bit more objectively, I think, because you can't fall back on, well, last time this didn't work. Nah, it doesn't matter. Well, later I'm gonna, what are you doing right now? Right now, at this very moment in time, how are you fixing your thing? You can't use the past or future to help you right now. Right now, just the present, But yeah, I think this was a good chat to discuss and go through. I think that's all I got for now. So I guess to wrap up, unless you have more things to unwrap, Dagny.
Indeed. No, I think we connected all the dots. So as always, we love hearing from you. So definitely the different questions we asked, we would be greatly appreciative if you respond to them and share with us. So make sure you comment either on whichever platform you're listening to this or also on the blog post. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
All right. All the love. Bye. Good luck.
Bye. Take care.